Folks, Season 7 of the finals is here. I've put together 20 tips that are going to help you to learn, abuse and counter the new meta. So by the end of this video, whether you're going for Ruby or Platinum or whatever your goal is, this video will help anyone who's just trying to improve and be ready for the new season. Alright, now there's 20 tips. I've put them into 3 different categories. So the first category is instant W's. So instant W's are tips that take minimal, next to zero effort, but they'll give you such a huge reward. And so to see what I mean by that, let's start with the first tip. Alright, tip number 1, you must be using the heal gun if you're on light, or any light on your team should be using this as a gadget. It's the best gadget in the game. How do you use it? How do you abuse its power? Basically, you want to be off angling. Before Season 7, light players had some downtime to run away, regen, whatever. Now you have zero downtime. When you're regenning, when you're out of a fight, you want to make sure that you're at least looking for your teammate to make sure that he's at full health. Also, this allows your heavies and your mediums to take more aggressive plays. Allow them to initiate the fight while you as a light player stay back and hold the heal gun. It requires minimal effort to bring your heavy from 20 HP back up to the full HP within like 1 second. And I'm not going to say much more on it because it's very simple. Run the heal gun, abuse it because it will get nerfed. Right now it's OP, make sure you're using it. Tip number 2, to directly counter the heal meta, you need to use glitch nades and directly follow up with high burst damage. This season I would nearly put all my effort into killing the light first. Just remember that if you beam a heavy or a medium from 30 meters away, don't just instantly rush anymore, because this time he's going to be regen, he's going to be back to full health. You always have to assume that their light is running the heal gun. This is why the glitch is so important. It stops the light from being able to use the heal gun. And when you do land the glitch and it gets their whole team or it gets one of them, make sure you follow with high burst damage. So this is like Hook, SA-12 or M11 or Beaming with the F card. These are weapons that have such high damage per magazine, and this is vitally important to counter the heal meta. Alright, next tip, low effort, high reward weapons. XP54, FAMAS and the Shack. These weapons take next to zero effort to learn. They have minimal recoil at short to medium range. At long range the XP might be a little bit more difficult. Their damage is huge. They are all meta weapons. They're all viable. Basically, if you want to be consistent and your aim is off for some reason on a particular day, these are the weapons that I will be running. Alright, next tip, for anyone who gets frame drops, this is something that I see all the time. People are running their view distance on medium or high because they think it'll allow them to see the enemies more clearly, while it actually doesn't. The only thing the view distance affects is the terrain and the actual map. It doesn't actually give you any advantage in seeing your enemies. So put it to low and you get plus 5% FPS. I guarantee it. If you're running this on high, put it to low and you'll see a difference. Alright, next tip, a very basic tip. If you're playing light and you're playing dash, which I would recommend, you need to be dashing into the pad to give you the fastest mobility in the game. This is by far the best way to move the objective. Get your medium to place a pad and you can dash into it and you can travel the box much quicker than you would using a zip line or whatever other method you would use. Every single player on the team needs to have a cancel or a stall gadget. What I mean by this is everyone needs to be able to stop the other team from stealing the cash out station. If it comes down to them being the last one alive, you need to be able to do this. For light, that would be gateway. You have a gateway set up, a defensive gateway set up, so you can get back to the point and stop them from stealing. For medium, demat. If you're the last one alive and you're a medium, you can just demat the point and it will stop them from stealing. And for heavy, you don't have to run C4. I think C4 is the best, but you can run RPG. Also Hook. If you're running Hook, you don't necessarily need a C4 or an RPG on. Although if you want the most passive way to do it, where you don't even have to be within the same room, I would recommend C4. Alright, now since Season 7 is only after starting, everyone wants to run the new items, but what I will say is I think that one heal item per team is enough. So the heal gun on light is clearly the best. That means that you don't need a heal ball. Let your heavy use something else like barricades. And obviously as the season plays out, we'll see this more and more. People will not be running more than one heal gadget per team. And for the final instant W tip, pick the right team comp, pick the right team comp and the right specializations. This is very simple. HML is the best team comp in the game. It has been for the last 2 seasons. And then obviously be running the best specializations. On medium, that's DMAT without a doubt. On light, I would recommend dash. Most of the top light players will run dash, although there are some players running invis. I think if you really want to diff another light player, you have to be running dash. And for heavy, you want the easiest time and the most low effort, high reward. Mesh or hook is going to be the best option. Alright, so our second category of tips are team play and strategy tips. These tips apply to the entire team and will be more focused on what you do in different scenarios and situations within the game. Alright, tip number 9 and our first strategy tip. Even though light players usually flank or tend to run off angles, they no longer need to be the ones to initiate the fight, especially now that you have the heal gun. A light player can now flank while keeping an eye on the enemy, but also mainly focusing on where your teammates are. So letting your heavy or medium initiate the fight, this allows you to then either reposition to your team or continue to push and wipe the other team. Tip number 10, stop jump padding as a 3 stack into other teams. This is very predictable, and while it does work against bad teams who have bad positioning, doing this against a good team is suicide because you're just turning into an open Kovacs scenario. You're basically popcorn frenzy and they're just going to pop you out of the sky. They're going to track you as you fall down. Even if you have a lock bolt or an RPG, it's just not a wise move. I love when I come against teams that are doing this. Tip number 11, and this is primarily for the final round. There's no need to team wipe if 2 of your teammates are dead and you still own the cash out. Wait for them to coin. Even if the other team does get the steal off, it's better than wiping and waiting and then pushing while everyone else is reset. Also, don't underestimate your ability to stall. Watch these clips. I'm in a 3v1 scenario and I managed to stall the other team enough for my teammates to coin in and get back, and then they can continue to cancel the steal on their end. Alright, tip number 11. Avoid staggering your cash out station. If you plug your box too late and the other team station is already halfway done, you're more than likely going to get third partied. In this clip you can see we made that exact mistake and we ended up losing the station just because of this. So what you should do instead, if you plug too late, you should just give up your current station and push the other teams. And by going for the earlier station, you get the chance to either go for the next available vault or going back and third partying the late station. Alright, next tip, another tip primarily for the final round. If you know you're going to be playing against a team that's very aggressive and they're running short range or W key loadouts, this is a way that you can combine your team's loadout to just cancel them as best as possible. Have glitch grenades on the light, glitch traps on the medium, and lock bolt on the heavy. This stops their ability to get in your face, and the lock bolt allows you to trap them and stop them from getting away when their rush attempt fails. Alright, I'm moving on to our last category of tips, solo improvement tips. So these are tips that will take a much more conscious effort and will take a lot more time for you to implement into your game. But I find that these are the tips that are going to separate the players who can secure Ruby early in the season from players who are grinding till the very last day. Alright, tip number 14 and our first solo improvement tip, recoil control. Recoil is by far the one thing that separates the top players from the players who will just be scraping Ruby or the players who are stuck in Diamond. Recoil control is absolutely massive, especially if you want to use weapons that will give you the edge, such as M11, FCAR, Lewis gun. What I like to do is I go into the practice range, I shoot the pattern against the wall, and then I try and control it. As you can see here with the M11, the recoil is insane. This is by far the hardest recoil pattern in the game. But I do this and then I go up to high ground and I try and beam from a distance. And if you can control this, if you can do this, you'll be separating yourself from other players. And this is by far the best way to extend your loadout choices and consistently diff other players who try and use this weapon against you. Then moving on to tip number 15. While we're on the topic of recoil smoothing, if you don't know what it is, you need to use it. Instead of actually controlling the recoil pattern, this is something else you can do to make it much easier. Just strafe right or left while aiming at the enemy and shooting, and this will diminish the recoil, make it much easier to control. As you can see, the pattern on the wall is nowhere near as bad as it was. It actually makes the recoil less. So if you want to be consistent in mid-range fights, I would highly recommend strafing while shooting, and it makes your recoil much smoother. Tip number 16. When you're not playing ranked, play the other classes. Don't be stuck on light or whatever your main is. At least have some amount of hours on the other builds. For example, if you're a light main in ranked, play medium or heavy when you're playing World Tour. This allows you to know what your medium or heavy would actually expect of you and what they want you to be doing as a light from their point of view. For example, you'll get to understand the frustrations of a heavy player not being able to get up to high ground while your medium is just jump padding himself or placing a zipline without his team. But the point I'm trying to make here is it's important to know each class inside out and what they expect of you on your main. Alright, next tip, don't be so worried about swapping guns, especially since the meta is going to change and your favorite gun will eventually get nerfed. Be ready for that to happen. So for example, I'm a light main, but at the moment I'm swapping between the XP, the M11, the V9S and the M26. So this gives me such a broad range of weapons. So if one or two of these weapons do end up getting nerfed or the meta changes so significantly, I'm going to be okay because I can swap to another weapon. Tip number 18, if you're not doing any sort of aim training outside of the game, I would recommend it. Aim labs for controller, Kovacs for mouse and keyboard. I've been playing mouse and keyboard on other games such as Marvel Rivals, and what I can definitely say is since I've started using Kovacs, my aim has gotten 10 times better, not even comparable. And for the finals I've been using aim labs, and I can safely say that my tracking is nicer. I've been way better with shotguns, more consistent. So I would highly recommend aim labs. Is free, or if you're on mouse and keyboard, Kovacs, definitely use them if you're not using them already. Tip number 19, our second last tip. Alright, now I would put this into the instant W category, but I'm going to put it into this category because this is a solo improvement tip and it won't come instantly. But definitely consider upgrading your monitor or your setup, because the difference from 60 FPS to 144 to 240 to beyond that is huge. It's massive and it will give you such a huge advantage. So if this means that you actually have to get a job and not play the finals all day, I would recommend it. Just take it from me that upgrading your setup to reach the higher FPS and even just optimizing your game as much as possible so that you can get the highest FPS and the clearest quality. And while everyone is in a different position, there are obviously things you can do to optimize your game. So look up some guides on how to optimize and get higher FPS if you haven't done that already. And so to conclude with tip number 20, watch and learn from other players. Now to make this extra convenient, you could just subscribe to my channel elhomo. I'll be making more content like this to help you improve at the finals. I'll also be streaming here on YouTube and on Twitch, so if you want to see how these tips work live, you can obviously join the streams and see it there. Anyways, I hope this video helped you. I hope it prepares you for Season 7. And I'd like to say thanks very much for watching. If you think I missed anything, please leave a comment. We can get a conversation going down below. If you have any questions, I'll definitely do my best to answer. Also, to any of my existing subscribers, I'm sorry for not uploading in a long time, but we are back now. And so I'll see you soon. And hopefully for you, not in the arena, bitch.